You are listening to Charting Cryptos, Commodities, and Currencies. Let's jump into these charts. First thing up, 24-hour a day Bitcoin chart for the day, down 2.61%. And of course, we saw Bitcoin trying to take off. And then this week, it's weakened substantially. We had 3 weeks on this 24-hour chart. Let's blow that up a little bit so you can see it better. And this week, of course, turning into a doji. The good news is we're still above the weekly trend line, but lots of weakness there. Now, when we look at where we are on the volume, you can see we just aren't having even average volume. Even with this nice green up candle, didn't even hit the average on it, which isn't giving us a lot of hope that things are really taking off strong. And of course, this week, going into the red, we will keep an eye on things and see. Sometimes Bitcoin can surprise you. But as we look, when we see things go up in green and then get weak, they might bound up a little bit higher, but they just sort of tend to run on down, don't they? So we'll keep an eye on it, see where Bitcoin is going to lead us to. Let's look at Ethereum. Ethereum weaker than Bitcoin. That was a weak trend line anyway. If you look at it, only 2 weeks, and since it has dropped on down. And where will it go? I can't tell you. We look at the volume, nothing to give us a lot of hope there as to anything strong happening. So weakness we see on both Bitcoin and Ethereum. If we look at the top 10 cryptocurrency chart, again, this is Bitwise 10 Crypto Index Fund. It tracks top 10 cryptocurrencies weighted average per market share. You can see where that down move is reflected this week. We had things just sliding sideways for many, many weeks and then moving over. But we haven't tagged the most recent low back here on the 14th of August, but not too far from it. We shall see. But it's showing us what overall weakness in the cryptocurrency sector. We're going to leave cryptos, and as we always do next, we go to commodities. Let's start off with what's happening with the U.S. gas fund. For those that drive a gas-powered car, good news. Things moving down. You can see the volume here, even with the craziness in the Middle East. It is interesting that we saw a little spike up here for a couple of days, but on Wednesday, moving down again. So we'll keep our eye on things. Overall, oil, this is United States Oil Fund. You can see again, it's down for 2 weeks. A little spike up here on Monday, slowing down on Tuesday, moving back down on Wednesday. Going to foodstuffs like wheat. Well, wheat's just continued to trend on down. Again, just sort of a little doji forming this week. Is it finding a bottom here? Could be. But again, no up movement yet. Soybeans just continuing to move on down. For the day alone, down 1.21%. Silver up a little bit for the day. Big down week last week, like we saw in gold. And what do we see here this week? Just sort of hanging on there. So we'll keep an eye on silver. And getting back to fuels, this is natural gas, nat gas. Well, we have 2 weeks in a row where it's moving up. Nothing just taking off and pounding a far cry from where it had gotten up to what, $20, $30, $34? Whew! All the way down here lately to around the $7.90 mark. That's good for those of us who use energy, which is every single person listening to me. Now let's move into currencies. We will start with what's at the top of my list, the Canadian dollar. We saw it trying to gain there in September, sort of middle of September, and then started rolling over. Nothing happening good with the Canadian dollar. Where are things with the euro? Same thing. It didn't even have a bump up. It just keeps on rocking down. I guess maybe if you're going to travel to Europe, you could get a good deal on the euros when you go there. What about the Swiss franc? Now, there's no French franc anymore with the euro, but we see the Swiss franc bumping up some this week. Depending on how we draw that trend line, it could have breached it. the way it's drawn on those 3 prior candles to last week. It's sitting right there on it, up a little bit for the day. Don't know if that's anything to write home about, but that is where we see things. And I'm trying to see if there's a potential floor there somewhere. Not seeing a whole lot, but that is where we are on the Swiss franc. And lastly, we'll take a look at the yen. And again, like the euro, just on a grinding down. Now, it is interesting. We had all this volume last week. Hopefully you would see with that kind of volume, maybe getting a bottom there and moving up. We'll just keep an eye on the Japanese yen and see where it might be going. Hope you enjoy charting cryptos, commodities, and currencies. I like it because it takes you out of just the regular stuff and get you some things you might not otherwise think about when it comes to things like soybeans, sugar, coffee, corn, silver, and of course getting into the world currency so you can see how they are stacking up against the US dollar. That's where we are, folks, so appreciate you being with us. God bless. All the best from the whole team at Charting Wealth World Headquarters.